Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Getting to Know the Family. Hi, it's Scott with another episode of Getting to Know the Family, the show where we get to know you, the parishioners of Holy Family Parish, here in San Jose. I'm standing out in front of the church doors in Murphy's Meadow. Murphy's Meadow gets its name from its creator. Father Frank Murphy was one of the original pastoral team when the parish moved here to Pearl Avenue. And he oversaw the project. In fact, he did more than that. He went to work. He was driving tractors, grading land, planting, all kinds of things to make this meadow happen. And it's an important part of our history, an important part of our now. And even though it's seen some greener days when we weren't in the middle of a drought, it still sees lots of activity. We had outdoor masses out here when we were in the middle of the pandemic. We most recently had our parish picnic, place to connect with people. And that's where I got to see Mark and Martha Williams again. First time I've seen them since I sat down and talked to them about their faith journey, one that began with a promise. So come along with me as we get to know Mark and Martha Williams. Mark and Martha, welcome to Getting to Know the Family. Glad to have you as our guests today.
Thanks for having us.
We're happy to be here.
How long have you been part of Holy Family?
Well, we started attending, I think in the spring of 1996. That's when we first started, and we probably registered shortly after that. I can't quite remember the date.
I came as a teenager in the 70s for several years, but then, fell off in attendance, and we came back together as a family, as Martha said.
Okay. And what brought you to Holy Family in the 90s?
Well, for me, I was raised Lutheran, but my family is Catholic, and we didn't go to the Catholic church where I grew up for particular reasons. So my mother was Italian and Catholic, and she was dying, and we had just had our son, and she made me promise that I would get him baptized. She said, it doesn't have to be Catholic, but I want you to get him baptized. So then she passed away, and he was about 5 months old. So that was kind of hanging over my head a little bit. And we didn't attend church for the first 12 years of our marriage. So we started looking for a church. And we had a plan to go to a lot of different churches to see what felt right for us. But since Mark had attended Holy Family as a teenager, he was familiar with the church, and we are close by. And so we picked Holy Family to attend first.
And never went to a second.
Yeah, it just felt right from the very first day that we were here. So that's what really brought us back to the church.
We were coming back to baptize our son. And
that was the main reason.
That was the main reason that brought us back. But at the same time, I was thinking, how do I broach this subject after not going to church for 12 years? How do I talk to Martha about going to church for our son? Because I wanted to raise him in a spiritual environment. And as I was trying to figure out how to ask Martha that, she asked me, she says, what do you think about going to church? And so that was wonderful. And then together we thought, well, why don't we talk to my mom and my dad and ask them about coming back to the church as well, because they had attended for years and then they had stopped as well. And so we went to my mom and my dad and we asked them whether they had any thoughts about coming back to the church. And they indicated that they were trying to figure out how to ask us if we wanted to join them in coming back to the church. So together as 3 generations, we all came back to the church.
That is really cool.
It was very nice.
It was meant to be.
Okay. So, growing up Lutheran in a Catholic family.
Right. So I grew up in a small town called Barstow, Mojave Desert, and there was only one Catholic church. And the priest had kind of alienated my mother. And she'd gone to him for some help with her marriage, and he was very old-fashioned. And so she really was just turned off by the whole thing. And our neighbors next door were Lutheran, very devout Missouri Synod Lutheran. And so she sent us kids. She didn't go, but she sent us kids to church with them every Sunday. So since we went to church every Sunday, then I went through the sacraments of Lutheran and all of that. I was baptized Lutheran and then did confirmation. And so it was her way of trying to have religion in our life, but she didn't want us to go to that Catholic church. But she was very devout and faithful in the Catholic faith.
Okay. And so then when you came to Holy Family, went through RCIA?
Yes.
Okay.
I did the confirmation, or I forget what it's called, the part, because I already had baptism, and I guess I must have done First Communion. I'm not really sure. And then he had baptism and all the sacraments.
Right. I had never been baptized, and I grew up, we did not go to church. I remember little kids talking about what religion we were. I remember running into my house, "What religion are we, Mom?" "Tell them you're Protestant." So I ran outside and said, "We're Protestant," without even knowing what any of that really meant. But as I said, there had always been an underlying belief and a faith in God. I always knew that God was real in there. And
Your parents are Catholic, though.
my parents are Catholic. So I tell people I'm kind of like a heathen for a while. It's like a little joke. I don't know the exact definition of heathen, but I came through RCIA, and I came to with purpose intended of making sure my son was baptized and was in a spiritual environment, and searching for myself as well, but really didn't realize how much I was going to find for myself in the faith through RCIA, and so I found my own faith again and made it larger and greater in the process of trying to do something to help my son. I helped myself.
So why was it so important to you, not being a churchgoer at the time, that your son be raised in that environment?
Well, as I said, I always knew that there was a God. I'd always believed. We had always known that there was a God, and it had always been our intention. I'm not certain that what was keeping us from going. We just hadn't made or found the reason to go. I mean, I remember there was a time. I mean, our faith was always there. There was a time when early in our marriage, we had a little bit of money struggles. Best as we could, there was going to be one month where we had, like $220. I think that we just weren't going to be able to cover. So I was going to have to go into work and get a loan through work. Through they had an arrangement where you end up paying yourself back with interest, and so I was going to go in to make arrangements for that the very next day, and then we opened the mail. And I don't even remember where it was from, but there was a check for $222, and we just laughed because we knew where it came from, and so we always had a faith, and it was always there, and I don't really know why we waited so long, and we should have come back sooner.
I think for me, it was that we both did believe in God and Jesus Christ as our Savior. And we were just lazy, and just the two of us, and starting our jobs and all of that, but we did have discussions through those 12 years before we had our son about when we did have a family, because we always planned to have a family, was to have spirituality as part of our family. And I myself knew that I would probably not be successful if I just left it to myself to dispense that to my children. I feel like I'm a spiritual person inside, but I don't know that I would be successful in opening that up to children in that way, especially working. I worked outside of the home and he was working. So in my mind, it was that I needed the church for the structure that it would give to our children having spirituality in their life, whether they keep it when they become adults or not. I just wanted them to have that foundation. I wanted for sure that they had the foundation.
We'll come back to RCI in a moment, but you mentioned working outside of the home, and what did you do for a living?
Martha was a tax collector.
I was a tax collector. I went to school to be a teacher, elementary school teacher, which I loved. When I got out of school in 1978 is when Proposition 13 passed in the state, which controlled the property taxes, which also affected the schools. So the year that I got out of school, there were no teaching jobs. They were just laying off teachers. So my mother worked for the county, Santa Clara County, and she would bring home job announcements for me. And I just picked up one and applied and kind of moved around, and I ended up in the Department of Finance, which was weird because I'm not an accountant, but Department of Finance, and I worked in tax collection, which is property taxes, and just worked there for about 35 years. Eventually I could have gone back to teaching because they were hiring teachers, but I liked what I was doing, and so I just stayed there, and then I retired in 2011.
Kind of ironic that you went from being a teacher and couldn't be a teacher because they didn't have enough tax money to then going collecting taxes
It
and
is
property.
ironic, and when I joined Toastmasters at one time in my career, and you have to give these little speeches, you know, and that was my speech, was how Proposition 13 played a role in my life, and I didn't even want it to, but it did. It got me out of teaching, and I actually lived Proposition 13 every day in my career, so it was very ironic.
What about you, Mark?
I worked in the IT field. I started off working as a computer operator and worked my way up to a computer programmer, and then I eventually became a project manager. But I started back in the old days where you learned how to program on punching cards, and I actually was one of those guys that loaded reel-to-reel tapes on those magnetic tapes on the computer machines and did backups and loading of files for the programmers. And but I spent more than 20 years as a project manager working at Wells Fargo in the internet area, both for the retail and the business side of banking. So helped create the internet there.
Very cool. All right. Let's continue our journey backwards, I guess, here. You know, where did you grow up? So you hinted that you, as a teenager, you were here in San Jose.
Yeah,
Did you grow up here in San Jose?
I was born in Seattle, Washington, but the whole family moved down here when I was a year old. So I really remember nothing other than San Jose. I've been here since one.
In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, yeah.
Oh no, you lived on the east side first.
Lived on the east side first, and when I was in 6th grade, we moved into the house that my mom is still in there, and I still go to visit her at.
What about you, Martha? Did you
I grew up in
Barstow?
Barstow, right. I was born in Victorville, and because Barstow did not have a hospital at that time, and grew up in Barstow until I was about 13. And once Vatican II let my mother get a divorce, then we left Barstow and moved to San Jose because my grandparents were here. My mother's parents were here. And so we moved to San Jose in 1970. So I've been here a long time.
I tell people she's my desert flower.
Right. I grew up in Willow Glen, went to Willow Glen High School, San Jose State. So been here a long time.
How did the two of you meet?
We met at a department store called the Treasury.
We both worked there.
We both worked at a department store called the Treasury. It was right over where that Safeway is on Almaden, that big Safeway on Almaden.
On Almaden Expressway,
Okay, yes.
next to Savers.
It used to be something like similar to like Target. It was owned by J.C. Penney. It was knockoffs and the discount stores. And I started, and they were training me on the register. And whenever you made a mistake on the register, you had to fill out this piece of paper, and they called it a void. And so Martha was the one who signed and approved the voids. I never made so many mistakes on purpose in my life to
I
have
worked
Martha
the
sign my
information
voids.
credit desk. So we worked there while we went to school. But we both had part-time jobs there. That's where we met.
All right, going back to RCIA, what was that experience like for you? Tell me what were maybe something that you weren't expecting when you were going through RCIA.
Well, for me, I'll be really honest, and I've told this story before. You know, as I said earlier, my main intention was to try to get my son baptized. You know, he was almost 4 before he was baptized, so I was getting kind of nervous. So when we started going to Holy Family and we really liked it here, we knew we wanted to stay here, we researched how to get him baptized. And I spoke to Blessy Lascola, and I said, well, we're not Catholic. And she said, that's not a problem. You can get him baptized. And so I was pretty relieved because by that time he was 2. And then, then Jenna Silvers, she was in charge of it then. So she said, no, they have to go through RCIA. And so I was like, okay, coming from bureaucracy, I understand all of it, but I don't know that I entered it with the best intentions, RCIA, because I'd already been baptized and confirmed, and I didn't quite get it in a way. But that being said, and I've told both of those ladies this, it was the best thing ever for myself to go through it, because I am a person of structure, so I guess it was an unanticipated pleasure to learn about Catholicism. And then I really owned it, and it was part of me that, and Blessy just the other day said, technically he could have been baptized, but Jenny said, well, who's going to take him to church, and who's going to follow through with all of these things that need to be done? And that was very true. That was very, very true. So I'm very thankful to both of them. But yeah, I think it was unexpected, and it really was more meaningful for me, and I feel as though I am a Catholic now, and I don't know that I would have felt that way if I hadn't gone through RCIA. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well, and I think I went in thinking it was more of a bureaucratic step we needed to complete and check that box so we can do for our son that which we
like driver's ed or
do.
something like that.
Yeah.
And as I said, I found, as Martha said, as I learned more, I found my own faith growing and just believing. And I remember there were 2 days when I smiled so much that my muscles in my mouth just hurt from the amount of smiling, and that was the day I was married and my baptism. And I just remember smiling so much and feeling so on fire that I had to attend every single event that was going on at the church. And then we had the crab feed, and I'm not a big fan of crab. I can't stand the smell, so I realized you don't have to go to every event. But I enjoyed it very much, RCIA.
Okay. So your baptism was at the Easter Vigil?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What made that so joyful?
It's just feeling myself in the grace of God for perhaps the first time. And how do you explain that? It's how do you explain the feeling you have of complete joy and knowing that, at least for this brief moment, I am as clean as I will ever be. And it was just a really joyful moment, looking at the people around. People had supported me and talked to me through my time in RCIA, and the waving and the smiling and the handshaking and the patting on the back. There was a time years ago when, even though I had felt faith, I went through a period where it didn't really seem like the church was very alive to me. But I would say at the time of my baptism and the joy I felt, I looked around this building here, and it was so full of life to me at that moment. The walls and roof seemed to be lungs inhaling and breathing, so full of life, that just pure grace and joy.
It was joyful for the whole family, I have to say. Our son was there, I was there, his parents were there, and they're both Catholic, but for some reason they didn't get their children baptized or, really did anything with them after a certain point. And I saw the joy in their faces that when he was baptized, and that was amazing. That was amazing. So it was joyful for all of us.
I think my first experience of vigil here at Holy Family, the thing that stood out to me was the boisterous, loud applause at every baptism. Like, it wasn't just the, yeah, congratulations. It was like, just like a rock concert. Right.
Even though you want your babies to be baptized when they're born and have them be all safe in God's love, there was something very exciting and meaningful in an adult getting baptized. He was in the font and sitting in the font and the water, and it was very, very, very amazing.
So how did that change your life, besides then just now being a regular churchgoer? What effect did that have on your life after that?
I felt like I was part of the body of Christ. I felt like I was part of it all, and part of the congregation, just being a part of it all. And I don't know that I'd really felt lonely or separate before, but I felt more of a belonging and being part of something that I was grateful and proud to be part of.
And part of that was for all of us, was for Holy Family, the church, our parish. That was what we felt the very first day we came. And we sat in the pew over there where we still sit pretty much. And that feeling of community and love was there from the very first day. And so it was just very much, I really think the Holy Spirit was with us that day that brought us here, and we just felt like maybe there was this missing piece. Maybe it was like that book, The Missing Piece, Shel Silverstein, and that was missing, and we didn't know it was missing. And then when it got filled, it was just so full of love. And we still feel it.
Yeah?
We still feel it. It's one of the reasons I think that we don't move. Our son, he's in Vancouver, so he's not around, and we're here, Mark's mother is still with us, and but other than that, there's no one else around in our family, so we think, oh, maybe we should move. When we try to climb the 13 stairs to the second floor, like, maybe
I count the top floor, so it's 14 for me.
Yeah, we call it going up to the mountain. So it's getting harder and harder to do that, so we think, oh, maybe we should downsize and move somewhere else. But I think this church, keeps us here.
It has become family.
It has.
So after that, you got involved in the parish. Some of the things I'm aware you've been involved in is Knights of Columbus and the Columbiads.
Yeah, one of the first things we did was the children's liturgy, because our son was young. He was like 6 years old by that time. And so the three of us did children's liturgy together. That was our first introduction to anything. And in those days, the church was full of people. We were packed in like sardines, and we had lots of children's in children's liturgy, 25 or 30 kids every time we did it. And so we did that. It was good for our son. He was helpful in it, and that was the very first thing that we did. And then...
And I joined the Knights of Columbus. I think I joined primarily as I just got tired of them asking me, and if I joined, they just wouldn't ask me anymore, right? And Ed Cruz is the guy who asked me, so I thank Ed Cruz for getting me involved in the Knights of Columbus. And I have found a camaraderie with men, spiritual conversations with them, laughing and joking, and helping of veterans and men's groups and women's groups, and helping at the school and the children around the parish here. The Knights do so many things here that I am very proud to be part of this council with all the things that we do in helping people. And I don't think I was really expecting how much good we do. I thought it was going to be more of a slap you on the back, drink a beer kind of group. And it's not our council. There may be some councils that are like that, but we have a real good group of guys here.
They seem to be friends, very nice friends. That's what I see in it. It's very nice.
Well, Father Celso, the priest joined the Knights our council, and Father Celso is a Knight. So just less than 2 weeks ago, about half a dozen nights, and myself went over and took him out for pizza and beer. He told Father Joseph, asked him, what are you doing for dinner? He says, I'm out with the guys, you know, so it's a lot of fun.
Then they started Columbiettes, which is the women's division of the Knights. We're not under the Knights, we're just kind of partners, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
They started that in 2014. So Nita Cruz started it mainly with Patty Trillo and Delana Romero. And I just happened to run into Delana at actually a function at work. And she invited me. And so I joined the Columbiettes in 2014. So we do a lot of things together. We support each other, our groups, but we do a lot of things apart too. Myself personally, I try to dabble here and there and do other things, kind of to see where I might be helpful. I've done Vacation Bible School, and I've done money counting before because I was a collector, so I was used to handling money. So I did money counting for a long time with Mimi, and then recently I joined to help Jackie Cantu with faith formation, just to volunteer, not a catechist or anything, just to be an extra set of hands for her in different things that she needs help with. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. So, hopefully we're at kind of the tail end of it now, but, we've been going through this pandemic. What has that been like for you? What have been maybe the challenges? What have maybe been some hidden blessings?
Well, I enjoyed working from home. I am retired now, but when the pandemic started, I was working, and so I really enjoyed the working from home. And all I ever do all day is like this anyway. All I need is a plug and a phone, and then I can work pretty much from anywhere. And so I enjoyed that quite a bit. That was nice. I remember being really frightened at the beginning, thinking that not only, I wore like not only I think I wore 2 masks and 2 pair of gloves, so I could take off the outer pair of gloves with gloves and then use those gloves to take. Then I tease people by saying, then I threw my clothes in and I burned them. But
Well, he was doing drive-through communion with the priests, so he was outside during the lockdown. When you guys were in here doing the singing, he was out there, and I think we were nervous. So he did wear a lot of protective wear.
But over the course of the pandemic, we've become less afraid of it and more willing to go to more places. We still wear our masks. I remember, that some places I've gone inside where me and one other guy are the only ones wearing masks. So we still wear our masks because it's not a big inconvenience to us.
We try to be careful because of our mother. She's 85 and she has COPD, so we try to be careful. Maybe more careful than we would otherwise, I'm not sure, but we try to, what we bring to her.
We can't bring it to her.
Yeah, we can't bring it to her, so we try to be careful. But
might be easier for us to handle, but
yeah,
can't bring it to her.
I can't say that the pandemic has brought me personally anything good, I guess I would say.
I think that's most people's experience.
Yeah, I find it sad, and I miss seeing my son and my sisters, and for me mainly it was pretty sad. But that being said, I think that it has brought some very positive things to our society. The streaming of the masses, oh my gosh, we looked so forward to seeing you and your family. The streaming of the masses every Saturday, 5:30, we were there in front of our TV. We bought extra cables so we could put our phone on the big screen TV and see you guys all big. And that was just the most important thing, was that we could see everyone and hear the word. And ongoing for the future for people, if we continue to be able to stream, there are so many people that can't leave their houses, or it's not easy for them. The whole Zooming thing, Zooming meetings, Zooming Bible study, Zooming this, is such a blessing for a lot of people. I don't particularly like it myself, but I did it, of course, but I'd rather the face-to-face. But for a lot of people, it was revolutionary that they can have the church in their homes. They can have Bible study in their homes. You know,
We even had several family reunions once we've got used to Zoom, having Zoom family reunions and getting everybody together in one little virtual space for a few moments.
Yeah, the whole, I mean, mundane, but grocery delivery, people were doing it, but not to the extent they are now. Food delivery, and so I think I try to look at it that way, that there's a lot of things that brought to our society that weren't there before and are helping a lot of people. But for myself, I'm pretty melancholy about the whole thing. I'd like it to be over.
I'd like it to be over. It's caused so much harm to so many people all over the world and continues to do so. And
yeah. But I really, just to reiterate about the church, I do think about the whole 2 years and the first year or the first 6 months when everybody was so nervous and scared, not to have the church, not to have Mass, not to hear you and your wife singing, breaking the word. I just think for myself personally, it would have been terrible. And so I do want to say thank you for doing that.
we saw you there every week.
We saw you there every week, and it was...
You and your family. So thanks to you personally, Scott.
Yeah.
You and your family.
It was our greatest pleasure.
Because that was scary at the beginning. I mean, it was weird how one day, Friday, the March 13th, I'm in the grocery store shopping, and the next day I'm huddled at home, afraid of the virus. But it was real for the fear of it. And just having you there was great.
The one weekend we did not have masses here, that very first weekend, and we watched the stream from the bishop. But that's when, I've said this before. That's when it became very real. It's like, we're not even going to church. Wait a minute. This is, I still think there's,
I think it would have been
debate about whether that was the right thing to do or not. But from a safety perspective, I'm sure it was. But that's when it really hit home. And and to think. And I think also how in some ways, I'll say lucky instead of spoiled, that we're able to receive the Eucharist every week, and that was and we didn't that week, and wow, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I remember when we did the first in-face Mass. I think it was Christmas, and it was outside in that tent. Father Andrew was out there, and it was really just like experiencing your first feeling of being connected to Jesus. It was like, I don't know, it just felt so wonderful. And but anyway, thank you. I've told your wife thank you, but I wanted to tell you thank you too. It was a big part of our pandemic, our lockdown, was looking forward to you and your family.
So glad it was a service to you. So I conclude all these interviews with the same set of questions for all my guests. So I'm going to go through those questions with you. All right. I think I'd have these memorized by now. I kind of do, but. So what is your favorite word?
Favorite word?
Yes.
Wow. I'm not certain I even have a favorite color. Do you have a favorite word?
Favorite word? Right now, my favorite word is friend.
Maybe
I think
joy?
I go through periods where I have different favorite words, I think. Right now, it's friend.
All right. What's your least favorite word?
Work.
Retired people say work.
Yeah, work.
It's 4 letters.
Work, yeah.
What turns you on? What gets you excited in life?
Family, being with family.
Yeah, scheduling, having a party, a celebration, people coming over my home and getting ready and fixing things so that everybody has a good time. I think I really enjoy that. Christmas parties, barbecues, whatever it is.
What turns you off?
We used to really do the Halloween party. Turns us off.
Turns us off. I won't say work again, but could be work.
Well, some of the divisive politics of today really turns me off.
Yeah, I think hatred turns me off. People hating each other for no reason.
Yeah.
Real downer right now to us.
What sound or noise do you love?
Kitty cats purr. I bonded with my sister's cat that we're taking care of now, and we formed a wolf pack. His idea. I tell him, but you're a cat. But we hang out together. He comes over and he lets me make him warm, and he just purrs. And listening to him purr is really nice.
I love the singing. I love to hear singing. And birds right now, the birds are coming out around our yard, so I like to hear them singing and chirping.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Angry noises, yelling, shouting. None of that.
Yeah. I don't like to hear crying. I don't like to hear anyone cry. I hear a child cry or an adult cry. It just pains me. I don't like crying.
Who is your favorite saint?
Well, I'll go with someone local or recent, Mother Teresa. I happened to watch a video of her recently where I was just so impressed with her, and she was being interviewed by somebody who was trying to, catch her, trying to, set her up so that she didn't have an answer to questions, and they were using homosexuality as their target subject. Like how can you, from the Catholic Church, accept people who are homosexual? And whenever this guy tried to bait her or get her or goad her into some response by using the word homosexuality or homosexuals, she always stopped him and she said, "You mean miraculous creations of God?" And she just put this guy in his place. But every time he asked a question, she would stop him and say, "You mean miraculous creations of God?" And it got to the point where the guy could not even ask his question anymore. And so I admired her greatly for that.
I think my favorite saint is Saint Joseph, Mary's husband. I love the name Joseph. It was my grandfather's name. He was the one that helped us when we left my father and moved up here, my grandfather, Joseph. And it's my son's middle name. And I've always liked his role in the church and with the Holy Family. Joseph's role must have been a really good guy. And it's a warm name to me. It's a warm memory, Joseph, because my grandfather and my son, and then, Mary's husband. I think I would say Saint Joseph.
Okay. What ministry or occupation, other than one you've done, would you like to attempt?
And you're just asking us to sign up for stuff here, right?
No pressure, no calls.
Somebody going to watch this if I say Eucharistic minister or ministry of the word? Am I going to be getting emails and phone calls?
You could go with the occupation side.
I think I would like to try something more with the masses. I've never been involved with any ministry related to the masses. So like maybe a Eucharistic minister or ministry of the word. I see that as something I would like to try in the future.
So occupation, do you mean non-church related occupation?
Yeah.
I don't really have one specific, but I think generally I want to do more with children. Maybe because of my education and what I really wanted to be when I grew up. And I think maybe that's why going in to help with faith formation will give me a little introduction to what's available in that area and compare it to my skills and see if I can do it or not. So I think something in the church related to children, which I guess probably would be faith formation type thing.
Okay. And what ministry or occupation would you not like to do?
Singing. I'm not a good singer. I love listening to everyone sing, but I have a very bad voice, so I would not go into singing.
I don't know if I've really thought about which ones I wouldn't want to do. Um, there are some that are harder to do, I think, when you are working with people that are really in need. That takes a strength that organizing parties doesn't take. It's a whole different skill set that I would be worried that I would not be good at that.
And lastly, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Open the door.
I would like to hear him say, Martha, you were a good person. Welcome.
I would like that too. Might be odd if he says, Martha, you were a good person to me.
Well, thank you very much for being my guest today. Really enjoyed having you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, that's it for another episode of Getting to Know the Family. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, hit the like button or leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to share your story, we'd like to get to know you too. Contact Christina in the parish office. Till then, I'll see you in the pews.